What up, cappers, gamblers, punters, hustlers, low baggers? Happy Friday to all of you. Thank you for watching Sportsbook Review. This is Betting with the Bag, and man, were we eating last night on the ice. Oh, shit. Carrying off just like our last month. The last month of the year, regular season last year, 3 of the last 4 Thursdays, we swept the board. Another sweeping last night in NHL, and thankfully, because I made just under a K in NHL last night, but I gave 400 back in NFL, NCAA football, in WNBA. WNBA, don't go against Ski Profit. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Nasty Nate won 8 out of 10 with 1 push. Atta boy. Alex Guerrero, Gerardo Hernandez, Deer Slayer, Ski Lock City, Nuke Worker. Says, happy Friday, Jimmy from Darlington. Nuclear got the weekend off for some gambling. Shout out to our guy, the Nuke Worker. And that was AM. Says, man, Jimmy went an astounding 5-0 in NHL yesterday. Man, does that feel good, AM. Shit. Feels good. Said, I parlayed all his picks with the Jets over. Cashed nicely. Thank you, Jimmy. And to whomever gave the Jets over yesterday morning, yes, because I did not make that move, the Jets over. So that was somebody else. Yeah, beautiful. My man, Moses Saucedo. My man Moses, he parlayed all my late games, which was, well, the Red Wings sort of, just because I was waiting. I mean, I would have had a little bit bigger night if I had waited, but I gave that out a plus 165 on the early show before Bernier got called in. But he parlayed the late additions, which was he did Predators money line, but he added in the Sharks and the Avs, Sharks, Avs. So Avs, Matt Randall's taint play today. I rode with Easy Casher. Took a lot of heat for taking the Sharks, no problem. Took a lot of heat for taking the Wings. Ne pas de problème. God, it's a refreshing feeling being a goddamn winner. Ron Crawford in the house says, good morning, nice 4-0 sweep yesterday. Pittsburgh, Winnipeg, ULM, and Houston. Run line NHL spreadsheet now 15-4. Atta boy, love hearing that. Serious business in the house. Gate Pass Key says, nice job, Jimmy. Love seeing you cash. Makes my day. God, Gate Pass Key makes my day. But also knowing that we're all eating on the ice to start the season, which is not usual for me. Usually it takes me a little while to get rolling, so that felt real good. Red Girl in the house. Barry Block, Nicholas Fogg, Leroy Flood, Jaden Belanger, AJ Heller, Eric Nisbet says St. Louis Cards all day. I have doubled up on the St. Louis Cards first 5 full game, but you know what I'm like in baseball, a little different than NHL. Ed215 says under 5.5 Anaheim Columbus Blue Jackets play of the day. I'm concerned with the Blue Jackets goaltending. But, I mean, anytime Anaheim's playing, sure, take the under 5.5. That makes sense. I did take the Jackets minus 1.5. I've locked in all my NHL action already. There's Ski Profit in the house. The rare time I will go up against Ski Profit. I try to never do it, but I felt like I had to do it. And it looked good for 3 quarters and then fell apart in the 4th. Mandela Dawn, what a player she is. Just in complete control all the time. It was incomplete. Even with that back injury, shout out to the Washington Mystics. First WNBA championship. They played with a ton of heart and deserved it very, very much. Aaron Bistrin in the house. Cole over 9.5 Ks with straight lettuce harvest. I love that, Aaron Bistrin. Latuche. Ty Clinton in the house. Jared Schrader, 4-0 sweep for me. I'm up 14 units last 2 weeks. Man, that feels good. Eric Nisbet says, I love Virginia catching points. There's Jimmy Gomez in the house. Nut Flush Allen. Sergio Rodriguez. Adam Lastman. Brendan Cruz in the house. Sorry, I went a little fast there. And behind says, what up, Cappers? Great night last night. Over 42 NFL parlay. Yeah, it's funny because I feel good right now sitting here, but I was really angry about those 2 fumble returns for touchdowns. Block punt for touchdown costing me the under 43. I felt like timing wise for the under that I waited for the right time, and I'm just snake bit in NFL, and I'm so snake bit. I was looking at some of the totals that and they're almost always unders that I've lost, and I'm like, you know what? I just know I'm going to get very hot in NFL because I'm losing these spots where I feel like I'm on the right side. It was I was very upset, and thank God I had a perfect night in NHL because I would have come in here just livid. Absolutely, because even the Syracuse play, I mean, I don't understand why they go for it on fourth down, 16-3, fourth and you're at the 20, fourth and goal at the 20. I mean, I just don't get it. To me, you want that to be a 10-point game because there's like 11 or 12 minutes left in the fourth. You know, they get that touchdown with 3 minutes left. They would have been able to get in the field goal range and tie that game up. And I just thought that coaching there was very, very poor and made me extremely upset. And that's something we really have to watch, and we can't allow the losses to hurt way, way more than the winners. And that's been happening to me, and part of it is because I had such a bad September, but oh, man. Okay, let's keep rolling along here. Eric Nesbitt said, I love catching Virginia, catching points. Ty Clinton liking the under, Red Girl under, cash, Texas State game. Yeah, roll with Red Girl, and you'll be doing a ton of cashing. There's Alex Ramirez, Astute Chaos. AJ Heller says, wings are hot. I mean, I wish I had taken a flyer on some futures on the wings. Those big forwards are tough to play against. Very, very tough to play against. Ben Sports 24/7. Patriots minus 17. Patriots first half minus 10.5. Did that end up cashing? That didn't cash. First half, because it was 21-14 at the half. The first half minus 10.5 didn't cash. Patriots team total over 29.5 cash. Great job. Great job, Ben Sports 24/7. Yellow Jesus 6-2 in NHL. Love seeing that. Yellow Jesus blessing everybody's picks. Yellow Jesus says Red Wings was low hanging fruit. You should have seen the vitriol that came my way on Twitter when I said that the Red Wings were going to take out the Canadians. Everyone's saying you're going to make the same mistake that you made last year. But I did not. There's Rod Zawacki in the house. Dog Bry all over UM tonight. And says go Canes. Wow, I like it. Thank you for sharing that, Dog Bry. Casano Magic says Pats killed me 1 and 3. Ben Sports Bricker in the house. Bricker ready to go. William Cathcart says tried telling you guys Giants plus 17 was doomed from the start. I'm a Giants fan. Faded them first quarter, first half, in full game. There's Moses Saucedo in the house. Love seeing him catch. Ricky Bobby says, told you, Jimmy, you'd be on fire Thursday with NHL. You know, Ricky Bobby, a couple of you guys gave me the confidence to add a couple plays late, and you were one of them. And I'm very thankful because, coming off a bad month and the NHL season starting and being so pensive, and I was very, very thankful. And had you not done that, I wouldn't have the extra cash, so I'm very, very thankful. There's Juan Ruiz in the house. Caller Spiro says, my Mystics just the beginning. Nationals to win the World Series. Interesting. And Bitstrom says, Syracuse was flat the entire game. The play calling by both Raging Cajuns and Q's play calling was questionable all game. Mally Mal saying that Miami line funny as hell. Well, let's get to work. Astute Chaos says, what's the play of the day in NHL? I would say, well, I'd have to look at the market moves. We'll go over all three of them because I'm on all of them. There's Stelly 18 back in action. Love seeing that. Mally Mal also was on the Red Wings. Anytime I can have a play that correlates with any of Mally Mal's looks, gives me a ton of confidence. Aaron Bistron, I pushed on the Nashville -1. So that was just a push, but the other fours were casher. Okay, let's get to work. And I'm excited and thankful. And it's funny because I was angry this morning. I was angry last night. And I get a chance to come here with you guys, and I get filled with hope and optimism. Let's get after it right now. Yellow Jesus said, Jimmy, did that guy cash out on his St. Louis futures? Are we talking about St. Louis Elite? Our capper from the chat. There's Jay Money in the house. All good, Ben Sports 24/7. You're always eating. Okay. Let's get to work right now. We have, in 20 minutes, we're going to be joined by Donnie RightSide. So I would like to save, if we get, I'm happy to get into it. Let's focus on NHL right now. But if we get through it in before 19 minutes, we're not going to have much time to touch on it late. So there's only 3 games, but it's about putting money in our pockets. Now, one thing I've told you guys that I've always felt with NHL is in other sports, especially NBA, and it's great to have Jay Money in the house. What are we 12 days away from NBA season, regular season? In NBA, when you see something that's too good to be true, NBA just gets you. It gets you. In NHL, when you see stuff too good to be true, I don't get scared. I don't get nervous. I'm like, yes. And what do I think is probably the easiest play these days? Sabres overs. Sabres overs. I do not trust Carter Hutton. Bobrovsky has not looked good so far this year. Panthers, Sabres, I locked in the over 6 at minus 115. I locked it in at minus 115 earlier this morning. And there was better lines to get than that. I'm sure Jim Rummy's got a better line than that if his model correlates with the over here. But I sure love it. Buffalo opened up at minus 120, now at plus 110. Is that a goalie change? Was that a goalie change? I wonder if that's a huge 30-cent line move. Let's go to money lines and totals here at sportsbookreview.com, SBR odds page, and take a look at what we're dealing with. 6.5 at Heritage. Good. I want this over to be pounded. Definitely get in on the 6. Minus 115 still available at Pinnacle. 5 dimes, minus 119 at Bet Online. But Heritage already moved that to 6.5. That makes me feel very good. There's Neo Money, my guy Neo Money in the house. Bear Block says, I'm not taking the cane. Oh, we're talking football. Talking football. Okay. We're going to get to football. We're going to hammer football very, very much. LG says, we need Kings Court back. Staff, we need these guys, our stars from last season, to be on this season. And I'm pushing very hard for that and hoping that happens. Again, I'm not in control of that sort of thing, but I'm pushing extremely hard because I thought last year's NBA coverage was spectacular, absolutely spectacular. Okay, let's keep rolling along. Oh, it's Corey Mack in the house. I missed Corey Mack, my guy Corey Mack. I see someone there he is, Corey Mack. I love having Corey Mack in the house. Okay, let's keep rolling along here. So Panthers, Sabres. Panthers start out the year 1-2, but they're a good hockey team. I would not have given $70 million to Bobrovsky. And I've not interviewed him, so it's not really a fair statement, but I don't trust him. I don't trust him up here, and that really is not fair for me to say because what do I really know? But from what I've picked up, I don't trust him and would not have given them $70 million in South Florida, in South Beach, So we'll see if he picks up. He generally starts out the year bad. I also question players that start out the year bad every year. What were you doing in the offseason? Why are you not prepared the way you should have? And I don't trust Carter Hutton, but we're talking about Panthers 1-2 right now. They played the Lightning twice, Hurricanes once. To me, those are the best 2 teams in the Eastern Conference, and you guys know how high I am on those Carolina Hurricanes. Sabres have started out very nice under new head coach Ralph Krueger. I expect that they would have started just as nice under Phil Housley. I'm not sold on this coaching move to Krueger. I'm a Phil Housley fan. It's working right now. Panthers scoring 3 goals per game, allowing 4.67. Their power play is rolling. So the Panthers have a 30.8% power play early in the year, and they're not getting much production from Barkov and Huberdeau. In fact, Hoffman, the only guy scoring, so they've moved Hoffman onto that first line. They've moved Dadonov down to the third line. And when I look at the Panthers' depth charts, and I just wrote down a few of their lines here, I don't like it. Third line is where Dadonov, so Dadonov's going to be on with Dennis Malgin, and Jace Hawryluk. The second line, Vetrano, Trocheck, and Connolly. I'm not sure if that's the best spot. Lamont Williams coming in with a max bet on the Jackets. I can't wait to get into that game because I'm all over that as well. I'm all over the Jackets. I got the minus 1.5. I'm very excited. I think the Ducks starting out 3-0 is very good for us. We're going to be able to hammer that. There's Alex Ramirez, Spidey play of the day. Blue Jackets money line. Let me get that from Alex Ramirez, our guy. Alex Ramirez, Spidey play of the day is in. Lamont Williams, max bet is in. And can't wait to hear from our guy, Matt Randall, because man, it was really nice rolling with Matt Randall with my action yesterday with his team play. Jimmy Gomez, 15-7 NHL picks thus far. Picks coming up for me. Can't wait to hear Jimmy Gomez. It really feels like we have an exceptional amount of NHL cappers, exceptional group of NHL cappers that I'm certain, and I was pitching this to a few people, and this is like what I want to be my final test before $1,000 a unit. If I was going to be a truly successful gambler, it would just be $1,000 tickets in NHL. I'd have them in front of me. Hopefully, I don't want to talk about those business plans, but that's where I want my future to be. Just focus on what I do best. Sabres off to a good start. 7 out of a possible 8 points, 4.50 goals per game, 2.75 goals allowed, 53.3% power play. So let's talk about why they're so good. We have Eichel. Right, started his career 4 straight 20-plus goal seasons. Has 3 goals, 4 assists so far. Only 23. Will be turning 23 on October 28th. They pick up Marcus Johansson, a nice piece. They have Victor Olofsson, who they got 7th-round pick out of 2014, who's already scored 4 his first. 6 career goals, all on the first 6 goals, all on the power play. Very, very impressive. Okay, so. The reason why this Sabres team is going to be so good is one man, and that's Rasmus Dahlin. And it's also the reason why the Panthers are never going to be as good as they need to be, because Dahlin is going to be a monster, just like Victor Hedman. What the hell's wrong with Ekblad? Ekblad never became that guy with the first overall pick. Rasmus Dahlin is going to make – this team is going to win a cup. Mark my words, with Rasmus Dahlin and Jack Eichel. Maybe it's 3 years from now, maybe it's 5 years from now. But Rasmus Dahlin is that good. He's unbelievably good. Last year, as an 18-year-old, 44 points. You know how hard it is to be an 18-year-old defenseman in NHL? You know how mean, I mean, it's not as mean as it used to be in the NHL. Gate Pasky says, leaning Panthers, puck line tonight. They played quality teams, and we're moving the puck well tonight. I like that. I don't mind that at all. Thank you, Bob Berube in the house. Thank you for the love. There's Anders Larson Sadbag. Should have done the under in Anaheim Pittsburgh game, went with Blackhawks instead. Yes, as soon as we, and sometimes you need to talk those games out, but as soon as we realized, and it was because of you guys, it was because of the chat, I thought Lehner was starting. And when you guys told me that Crawford was starting, I was like, what kind of head games is Carleton playing with Lehner, who we know is sort of not comfortable with mental health issues? You want to let him know that he's good. The icon says Buffalo power play is deadly. It's Dahlin, and Ristolainen helps, but Dahlin. The guy is going to be the best defenseman in the NHL. I predict he has 3 Norris trophies in his future. Diesel Eugene says, glorious call on that Ducks under yesterday, Jimmy. That was just too easy. And I don't think it's just the Ducks that are going to take us to unders. And I'm not taking the under with the Ducks tonight. Because the Jackets seem, I just don't trust their goaltending. And I've got the Jackets on the puck line, so if the Ducks score 2 goals, I expect at least 6. The Penguins are going to be perfect for unders for us. Perfect. Okay, let's keep rolling. Mally Mouse says, how about them Sharks last night? Love it. God, it feels good. Dave Junior Small says, what do you think of the Lightning future this year, Jimmy? They're an incredible hockey team. You know, they're the hunted. Even though they got swept in the first round, 128 points last year. But we all saw that their regular season point total was 20 points less than what it was the year before. Okay, let's talk about the Panthers. What do I think? I just don't think there's value. When in a future market, you only take those favorites if they start out badly. You look for a team like the Hurricanes at 30-1. God, that feels good. Gate Pasky says, I love him too, Jimmy. What a beast. Okay, and I'm big on Sammy Reinhart. I love the Reinhart family. You know, I'm from Vancouver, Canada, so I love Paul Reinhart will always remain cherished in my household. Jeff Skinner also 40 goals last year. Reinhart 65 points. So the Panthers are off to a slow start this season, but I agree with Gate Pass Key. That's because of the level of their competition. They fired Buff. They fired Buffner. They bring in Joey Q, Joel Quenville. I like that look. I did not like the Bobrovsky signing, but they needed to do something to shore up that back end, and I don't like it. I think you do that through the draft. We talked about the line change. So I'm on the over 6. And I think we're going to eat with overs early in the year with both of these teams, almost regardless of who they play. Panthers, Sabres coming together, though, is that perfect over. And I felt similar, not quite as high, but similar about that under in Anaheim last night. All right, let's move on. Right now. Okay, here we go. Diamondbacks. Ducks, Blue Jackets. I'm on the Jackets minus 1.5 at plus 195. Now, there could be so there's some crazy stuff going on with the schedule for these Diamondbacks, and we need to be aware of it, and we need to be able to milk it. So the Blue Jackets have this crazy schedule for the next 3 weeks. They have back-to-backs Friday, Saturday for the next 3 weeks. So we have to see how Tortorella plays this with his goaltending, because I don't really trust anybody of these two young, very highly thought of goaltenders, but Korpisalo is the one I trust most. I expect them to want to get Korpisalo confident, so I expect them to want desperately to win the Friday night games, to put Korpisalo in the best spot possible, which would be to play him tonight. So we shall see how it's handled here. Did I say Diamondbacks again? Okay, sorry, Ducks. Sorry, I'm so sorry. Sorry. Okay, so we have to take advantage of these Blue Jackets on the back-to-backs Friday, Saturday, but we also have to figure out what's the best angle. And the most simple angle for me, and we'll see how this works because we have 3 weekends in a row of this, will be to back them on Friday. And then I'm not entirely sure what to do with them on Saturday at this point. But I do think that they're going to go all out to win the Friday Nighters. And with the Ducks on back-to-backs, you have to get on that market move early because as soon as they announce Ryan Miller, who we all know is going to be in net, the market will move again in the Blue Jackets' favor. So I got this Diamondbacks stretching room. Okay. Sorry, guys. Sorry. Ducks. Okay. Columbus lost first 2 games of the season before beating the Sabres 4-3 in overtime on Monday. They moved very important pieces of their veteran leadership group. So they're going to take a little time to get rolling. They've also lost Josh Anderson, who is a very important part of their size. And I feel like even though Josh Anderson scored 27 goals last year, when he's out of the lineup, I think that the other team will have more opportunities and more room on the ice. So I think that games can be higher scoring with him not on the ice. Ducks playing their second road game in 2 nights, and we've already seen if all we did all year so far is fade the team on the second half of the back-to-back, we'd be destroying. And they actually put my NHL record up. Thank you. I forgot to get that up because I'm back where I want to be. We're moving in the right direction. A little 4-0 night, so we're moving in the right direction. Okay, so we've just been fading these teams. We know that it changes later in the year, but right now, heavy legs in the first month of the season with back-to-backs. Now, Ryan Miller had an excellent season last year. An excellent season. He has excellent numbers against Columbus, but let's see old man Ryan Miller first game of the year. I predict that he's going to be very susceptible. Mally Mal says perfect spot -1.5 for Columbus. I'm getting +180. We had Insider Sports join us yesterday and give us a heads up on this play. He was like, this is the best play. I'm all over it. And I agree with it. And we're getting a great line. Blue Jackets -1.5 and +195. And if we took that right now, the Blue Jackets -1.5 right this second, you can get even better. +200 now at 5 dimes. So I think this is a good look. Alex Ramirez says Blue Jackets will roll. And I really do think that early in the season that we shouldn't be too concerned in NHL, in general, even if we're all on the same play. I don't remember that hurting us like it sort of supposedly has in other sports. So if we're all on the Jackets, I don't think that should put too much fear in you. And if we're coming off a big winning night, that shouldn't put too much fear in us either. I expect us to succeed greatly in NHL. Okay, next game up is Islanders Hurricanes. I got the Hurricanes -1.5 at +160. I bet it at +155. Let's see what it is right now for these Carolina Hurricanes. You can still get that 160 at 5 dimes. And, I'm not logged in. Shit. Sorry, I'm not logged into my... Okay, my fault. Let me just log in and see. So I was... good thing I wasn't going over all the opening lines. Okay, here we go. Bet 365 has gone down 5 cents, down to +150. Brandon Lugo says, hammer these 3 shows today, then weekend chilling. Yes, let's get after it. Ralph Porwano says, glad to finally check in. Cardinals -120 and under 4.5 first half. Great. I'm on the Cardinals first half full game. We're going to talk about that shortly. Islanders Hurricanes though. There's been a lot of talk about Mrazek not being good enough. Maybe that's true if we're talking about the Stanley Cup. But I think he's fine. Mally Mal says, I think the Canes only win by 1, Jimmy. I don't know why, at this point, you would have any faith in the Islanders. I do not see the Islanders making the playoffs this year. What they did last year was very special. Gay Pesky said, how do you not take Canes on the puck line like the over 2? I am interested in the over. But I do not trust this Islanders hockey team. Let's talk about why these Hurricanes are so good after their best start in 24 years. 30-1 on the Cup, 16-1 on the conference, 5-1 on the division if you rolled with me. 33% power play, 78.9% penalty killing. It starts at the top, Rod Brind'Amour. You know who's the first guy in the gym for the Carolina Hurricanes? It's their coach. That's the first guy in the gym. Rod Brind'Amour is a beast. Rod Brind'Amour is a winner. Rod Brind'Amour is... If I had a son I would want him to beat Rod Brindamore. Hurricanes are coming off Tuesday night 6-3 road win against the Panthers. They go into Florida and they beat them up. 12 different Hurricanes get points in that game. Aho has done nothing this year. He's done nothing, and yet this team is rolling. They lose Jordan Martinook. That's a big loss. This is going to be very interesting to see how they handle Martinook. He's an alternate captain. It's a good test for them. Hurricanes lost Martinook. They bring up Julian Gauthier. Remember, if your team is the best team has the best club in the AHL, they're soon going to be the best club in the NHL. And that's what the Charlotte Checkers have been. And who put us onto that? Mr. Ghoster put us onto that. Matt Skalhag says, I have Hurricanes win and under 6.5. To be honest with you, let's see what that total is. I do not trust the Islanders to score. And the reason why I'm off of it, because I'm worried that the Hurricanes could score too much. So you bought it up to 6.5. That was probably a tiny bit pricey because it's at 6 right now. Did it ever go to 6.5 that I did not see? No, it's gone down to 5.5 a couple times. But that's probably a parlay that you've put together, and I don't think there's any problem with it. No problem with it. Okay, Brindamore, 50th win in 86 regular season games behind the bench. New York coming off that 5-2 loss to the Oilers. This will be the Islanders' only road game across their first 6 games of the schedule. They're supposed to start off hot. They've scored 7 goals in 3 games. Gate Pasquis said this could be similar to the Bolts Leafs last night. Gate Pasquis, we know the Bolts and Leafs are going to put up goals. Do you think the Islanders are? Because if you go up and down their depth chart, I don't like them too much. Mally Mal says Canes have yet to win by 2 as a favorite. This might be the time they indeed, though. They won 6-3 at Florida, and no, they weren't a favorite in that game, but they won easily. And they were playing very tough teams. Randy Lockhart. There's Randy Lockhart in the house. Randy Lockhart, our guy Randy Lockhart, has published his first book on handicapping. Our guy Randy Lockhart has published his first book on handicapping. Randy, we got to get you on the show live as well. But he's put out his very first book on handicapping, and he wants all low baggers to get the book for free. He wants us to take a look at the book and tell us what we think of it. And how exciting is that? He's published his first book. Let's take a look at it right now. I have it right here. Winning Sports Trade Systems. Winning Sports Trade Systems. So we are going to figure out a way so that we can get it out to all of the low baggers. He wants all the low baggers to have it for free to give him feedback. But what a group we have here. Just another example of what an incredible team we have here. Randy Lockhart publishes his first book on handicapping. Randy, congratulations. You lead by example, inspiring, and we're very, very thankful to roll with you. There's Illwise in the house. Anthony Mastinardi is another winner in NFL Giants first half plus 10. I love it. It says beat Mom Joma. Again, had that 3 times in a row. Hey, Mom Joma, he'll get the last laugh time at times as well. But I love that confidence. Okay, so those are my looks right there. NHL. We're pretty much done NHL for the day. I'm on every game. I'm on over 6. Yes, and there's Randy Lockhart right there. And it means so much to Randy so that the low baggers get this book for free. And a great guy and inspiring and leading by example. Respect to Randy Lockhart. So over 6 Panthers, Sabres. Jackets minus 1.5 at plus 195. And Hurricanes minus 1.5. And there's Corey Simmons backing Anaheim. So I believe, I don't have the number in front of me, I believe the teams on back-to-backs are 1-7 now. So Corey Simmons on Anaheim money line and the under. I will copy and paste it because I will, not be cheering for you. You're my guy, Corey. But I really like this spot for the Jackets who need to make hay and eat right now. And Tortorella is all over these guys. They have a young team, and this is a perfect spot for them. And I'm very low on the Ducks this year, and I believe that we're getting a ton of value on the Ducks because they won their first 3. And coming off a Thursday night sweep, 4-0 plus 4.65 units in NHL, and feel good. Playoff Street says fade the Ducks. I agree. Mally Mouse says Ducks time to lose by 2 all 1-goal games. I'm not certain that the Jackets are going to cover the puck line, but I'm certain that we have enormous value fading the Ducks because they started 3-0. And I was very happy that they started 3-0 so that we could abuse it. And that's what we're doing here with the Columbus Blue Jackets. All right, let's bring in our first guest of the show. Our guy, Donnie, RightSide, here live every Friday morning on Betting with the Bag. Donnie, RightSide, how you doing this morning, my man?
Look, I'm doing really good this morning, Jimmy. You know, it's kind of interesting. I see you have a big night in hockey, which is fantastic. Long season to go. We talked even down we were in Miami, how excited you were for hockey. Looks like, we're going to get a nice profitable season. The one thing I'm kind of disappointed in is I can never hear a Flyers breakdown because we only play, Jimmy, once every 365 days here in Philadelphia for some reason.
You guys are 2-0, and you're a very dangerous club. And we talked about how much I love Alain Vigneault. I love your forward group. I think your forward group has enormous depth and has your forward group is the type of group that could take you through a long run through the playoffs. It's the defense that I question. Even Ghost this bear, I question. It's the defense that worries me. But Carter Hart and that forward group, I think you guys are going to be on to much, much brighter things in the next few years. And I look forward to capping the Flyers with you. Raymond Reichard says, what's the best play in NHL? I would say it's the over 6 in Panthers, Sabres. I'm on a game playing each game. A second, I would say it's the Hurricanes -1.5. Third, the Jackets -1.5. Although I like them all, and that's why I bet them. Donnie, RightSide, let's get right after it right now. We have yet to break down this MLB playoff game, and I was hoping that you could help us with it. Yep. Let's look into it right this second. Big game, Nationals-Cardinals, and I've already locked in first 5 and full game. And it's not that I'm okay, the main angle, I would say, before we break it down, and I can't wait to hear what Donnie has to say on it, is just that I think the Cardinals winning easily and then coming back home is much easier than the Nationals' crazy, crazy rush of energy, slaying the Demon Dodgers, celebrating like crazy, and then flying all the way over to St. Louis to continue this on. And then Michaelis at home. I know Anibal Sanchez can create that soft contact, but I like Michaelis here at home. And the biggest issue here is just the travel. I'm not saying that the Cardinals win the series by any means. I just like the Cardinals game 1. I like them early. It's cold, too. So the Cardinals will be I shouldn't say more comfortable in the cold. They're both going to be strange with this 48 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 8 miles out to right center. I know the Cards don't hit righties in the regular season. I just feel that there's a big advantage with Michaelis over Sanchez, and then the travel that the Nationals just went through. Donnie, RightSide, Nationals, Cardinals, you making a move on this big game?
I actually did a little bit earlier, put a little bit of money down. I'll get to that situation in just a spot, but I think we're in agreement here. I like the overall Cardinals, scenario tonight, especially for game 1. But the interesting thing that I'm looking at tonight, Jimmy, is the one drawback, yes, it is cold. What are we looking at? 45, 46, 47 degrees. The one thing that's good, if we're looking at a total, which I am, is that the wind is blowing out, 7, 8, 9 miles an hour. That should help out. But here's the biggest change from when we look about betting scenarios. When we look about betting, in the wild card game, where it's only a 1-game scenario where you have all hands on deck. If your starting pitcher's in trouble, you'll roll 9 pitchers out there, and it doesn't matter because if you don't win, there is no tomorrow anyway. The same type of scenario, Jimmy, still takes place when you take a look at, the league series, the game after the wild card. You have a 5-game series, which you're still seeing, and you saw all throughout. Max Scherzer coming in the 6th inning to put a fire out after your starting pitcher was in. All hands still on deck in 5-game series. Now we take a look at the 7-game series. Now we're in the championship series, and you're going to play it more operational baseball like you would during the regular season. So if we have tonight Anibal Sanchez, don't expect Strasburg to come in the 6th inning and Scherzer to come in the 8th inning to try to put this game away. They're going to play it more like regular season baseball, which means you're going to have to rely more on your average bullpen, which the Nationals have. If we're taking a look at second-half pitchers, Jimmy, Anibal Sanchez, both of these guys have had 14 starts in the second half, talking about Sanchez and Michaelis. XFIP 5.3 over for Sanchez. Michaelis 4.15. I think we get runs in this game. I know it's cold. I know it's playoff baseball. I know I've seen the tweets out there that say, hey, they changed up the baseballs. It's no longer the regular season baseballs that we're using. We're talking 7.5 runs in this game. I think we can get there because you're going to get back to normality with using a regular pitching set here for us, Jimmy. I'm going over 7.5 in this game.
I like that look. The look makes sense. I'm going to stick. And 7.5 is something that can easily creep over. I like that look. Yes, Raymond Reichard, I love that over 6. I like that look. I'm on the Cardinals. In fact, I haven't heard many people on that over. And with the knowing that the all hands on deck is not going to be happening game 1 of a 7-game series, it makes sense. Also, a second half over. Mally Mal says this line is too low for me. I want to give a big giant shout out to Corey Simmons, our guy. Corey Simmons, happy birthday. You put so much energy into the show. You have such great angles and insights. We love you dearly, Low Bag fam. Corey Simmons, happy birthday, man. And he's young, man. Donnie, Corey Simmons still has all that hope in his eyes and dreams and all those things that are slipping by the wayside for me. But Corey Simmons, man, enjoy it. Do it up, do it up, do it up. I like that breakdown. Brad Hansen says Donnie for president 2020. I would vote. Let's look at this offense. Anthony Rendon, Zimmerman, Soto all eating. But man, did Osuna turn it on. 9 for 21, 3 doubles, 2 homers, 5 RBIs. You have Goldschmidt, 9 for 21, 2 homers. Tommy Edman, 6 for 19, 3 doubles, triple, 2 RBIs. Donnie, who do you like in this series if you had a free play on the entire series? Nationals-Cardinals. Who do you see representing the National League in the World Series?
Yeah. It's a tough one in this one. If we're going to take a look long-term, if you're going to go day-to-day pitching, the one thing that, and again, it does hurt because you spend so much energy in that game. It's almost like how your pitching can set up. If you had a couple extra days to rest, if you're the Nationals, and you can reset that rotation where it would be Scherzer, Strasburg, Corbin, like 1, 2, 3, and then come back with that, I actually would lean a little bit more towards the Nationals. But as you see, games, there's only 7 games in the series. You're not looking at a whole 30 days or 60 days. I think the pitching matchups now, if you can get that 1-0 lead, which I do think the Cardinals will get tonight, it really sets back up in their favor because you don't get to set your rotation as if you had days off or you're waiting on the other team.
Yeah, I agree. Mr. Rizzo says, hope in the eyes dies at 40, Jimmy. That's probably, well, actually, I lost it before. Actually, I lost it in my early 30s, and I actually got it back coming down here and working with you guys. So I'm actually moving in the right direction at 40 right now. Thank you for the kind words, Brandon. And there's catered to you by Chef Jeff. Hit the birthday parlay last night. I was thinking about you, Chef Jeff. I hope you had a great, great birthday, and we were cheering for you to enjoy it. Al Hart says, great play, Donnie, on that over. Let's get into NFL, Donnie, and I'm just snake bit losing that under last night. As soon as that block punt came in, I was like, oh, I know what's going to happen here. I'm going to lose this under. It was not part of my pick 6, but what does that mean? I won just under a K in NHL last night. I gave 200 back in NFL, 100 back in NCAA football, 100 back in WNBA. And man, let's talk NFL football right now. Just feel so snake bit. I've already locked in 6 spots, and I added that under in very late and irritating. I've got 6 spots that I'm on and that I like. What are some spots on this NFL card that are jumping out at you, Donnie RightSide?
You know me, Jimmy. When we do the shows Tuesday and Fridays, I'm a big guy with injury information in football, and there's a lot of injuries that are still left, up in the air at this point, heading into the weekend. And the one I'm really watching, because I know we do a show at 4 o'clock. I like to do my pick 6, and I'm going to have my picks in just a few hours. But I'm trying to delay it because when you take a look at like a fascinating game, the Houston versus Kansas City Chiefs game, you're looking at 2 dynamic offenses. But are they going to be as dynamic? Because when you take a look at the Chiefs on offense, a little bit banged up on the offensive line. You saw maybe a high ankle sprain or at least an ankle injury for Patrick Mahomes last week. But here's what we're waiting on. Last week going into the football game, still like trying to get healthy at wide receiver. And now you're getting a Tyreek Hill back. If his scan goes correctly, that opens up the entire field again. We're not going to see the 13-point, performance that we had against the Colts just a week ago. You're going to see an extended version of this offense that's going to be able to really stretch the field. Kelsey will be wide open up over the middle. You're also going to see lifting off the top of the offense, which will open up the running game. That's a really interesting dynamic here that I'm waiting to see if Tyreek Hill comes back, because I can assume if we're looking at floors across the board at SBRodds.com right now, if Tyreek Hill comes back and you get some positive information, that number's probably going to change.
That number is going to change. I did get the 5 on the Texans. I got the 5 on the Texans, and I did pay for it in my personal bet. I got it in the contest at -110, but I paid.
But I agree with that. I agree with the Chiefs in this game for you, Jimmy. I think that's a good look at +5 for you.
Yeah, I just...
Or excuse me, with the Texans.
Yeah, we talked about it on Tuesday, and that's how I got the confidence really to pull it off. I did pay -125 for the 5. And I know the 4-5 is not really that crucial of a number. That may have been a mistake. What do you think of me doing that? Do you think that's a mistake because 5 is not that kind of a crucial number to pay for minus 125 to get the 5 instead of the 4? The 4 was minus, it was already down to minus 110. So it was, for me, I could get 4 at minus 110, 4.5 at minus 120, and 5 at minus 125. Which would you have picked?
It's really interesting you bring that up now, Jimmy, because if we're taking a look, and I like to be a little bit philosophical with the way I'm going to try to attack something. If we were to talk about like the difference between like 4s and 5s, like maybe 3 or 4 years ago, now that analytics have crept in here, the amount of teams going for 2 out of nowhere, sometimes these numbers actually don't, really incorporate anymore. Like, are we really talking about 3s and 7s anymore? You're seeing teams down 11 points in games, not kick the extra point to get it to 10, which a touchdown would get it to 3. They're going for 2, not getting it, and now they're not going to be able to cover that 3 at the end of football games. It's really interesting. It's just a comfort level that you have, but the old stigma is, hey, unless it's 7 or 3, what's the point in between? But we're seeing now with these 2-point conversions, Jimmy, that 5 to 4 that you have could be massive now. Where in the past, you might be saying like, no, I would never pay an extra between 4, 4.5, or 5. That's a really big deal now because of how many people are going for 2-point conversions and blowing those easy points that you'd usually get.
Oh, I love hearing that. That was what I was hoping is what I would hear. All right, so in this spot with this total at 55.5, Houston, Kansas City, I give you a free play on the total. Do you take the under?
Tyreek Hill plays, I like the over because there's a lot of things that Houston offense can do to now an injured Chiefs defense where they're going to be able to move the football and be active. If we can get one of those guys, those pace setters back at wide receiver for the Kansas City Chiefs, I see a lot of points in this game because I'm just going to assume that Mahomes is going to be healthy. You have 2 mobile athletic quarterbacks that can make plays outside the pocket. They're going to be able to put up some points in this game, but you need the guy that drives that offense with Tyreek Hill back. You just need him here. Sammy Watkins being down, I don't think he's going to play in this game. You need the other guy that's going to be able to step up. So I would need him in this football game, Jimmy.
Okay, I like it. And hopefully we'll have that information by the time we do the Audible at 4 p.m. Eastern. Donnie, what's next jumping out at you on this NFL card?
You know what's interesting? And again, a lot of people, hey, we want Donnie's topics or analysis on the Philadelphia Eagles. I got to tell you, and this is the part I love about, capping games and sitting on some information and weighing it in and reviewing back for what we have. Because, on Tuesday, Jimmy, I'm looking at, you asked me a question, Minnesota Vikings. You know what? At this point right now, I'm probably leaning towards the Minnesota Vikings. Now, depending on what the number is going to settle in, 3.5, that's a pretty big deal in this game because I do think it's going to be close. But when you look at just the game on the outset, and everybody's going to say the same thing, including me, how the hell are the Eagles secondary going to keep up with Thielen and Diggs? Well, do you know how you combat where if you're going to run a route that's going to take 4 to 5 seconds to get downfield, if you have a real poor offensive line like the Minnesota Vikings do, you're not going to be able to really exploit that secondary the way you can do it. When we take a look last week, we're saying scratching our heads first couple games of the season. Eagles defenders, Eagles front 7, they're not getting home. What's going on? Well, they're playing some decent offensive lines. They got a poor offensive line last week at the New York Jets, and they got 10 sacks in that ball game. They're going to get another poor offensive line with the Minnesota Vikings. They should be able to stymie it. This game, picking the winner, do I want the Eagles to win? Of course I do. It's going to be really close. Where early in the week, Jimmy, I wanted the Vikings. Now I'm on that other side here saying, you know what? Let's see if we can find a way to take those Philadelphia Eagles in this one.
Wow, and Flash is on the Eagles on the money line. Flash doubled up on 3 spots, and I want to know which one of them you like the best. Okay, so he doubled up on the Seattle Seahawks, he doubled up on the Dallas Cowboys, and he doubled up on the Green Bay Packers. Which one of those, all on, he broke them up. So for the Seahawks, one's money line, one spread. For the Packers, it's 4.5 and 4. And for the Cowboys, it's 8.5. He got the bad number there, but he also took halftime, full-time. Of those double-ups, which do you see succeeding the most?
Yeah, it's interesting because and again, the road teams, the public teams, they've been doing pretty well to start the football season. If we just take a quick look at the Seattle-Cleveland game, I'm a big proponent of getting extra rest, getting ready for football games. They played the Thursday night football game. They won. They get extra days to prepare. We also know that Cleveland, put all that work into beating the Baltimore Ravens. They go out west. They get hammered. Now they're coming back home. That's still going to be a tough spot because Seattle at home, I always really like the back, but then Seattle on the road sometimes gets a little bit questionable. But you're in that same scenario with Cleveland where you're saying, hey, this is going to be a do or do-or-die game. But just because you have to win football games or win a game, it doesn't mean you're going to actually win it. I think Seattle is the better football team in this game. I'm interested to see how Cleveland bounces back. Now, moving forward, here's a really interesting one, the 269-270 rotation that you were talking about, Dallas and the New York Jets. If we just put the football game on paper, Dallas should blast the New York Jets. But again, the game's not going to be paid on paper. And what are we going to get? Another huge injury report. Jimmy, if I told you today, say, hey, look, you watched Dallas last week. Green Bay was able to get pressure. The front seven for the New York Jets, obviously C.J. Mosley's not going to play in this football game, but that defensive line is pretty good. If you're taking La'el Collins out of the game and Tyron Smith out of the game, that's going to stymie the running game and the passing game at the same time. If you told me today, suiting up on Sunday and starting, Tyron Smith at left, La'el Collins at right, they would detonate the New York Jets. But if they're not going to have both tackles in this game and you're asking me to cover over a touchdown on the road, not too sure I want to be part of that at this point, but it comes down to injuries on that. If they're healthy on the offensive line, they should be able to put the Jets away with ease.
That's an extremely important angle in this game and well put. So on the Monday Nighter, and that's his other double up, I'm surprised that he's so bullish with the Packers, with the Lions getting this bye week. I mean, Patricia's got to be, this has got to be the spot where Patricia sort of shows that he's capable of coaching here. I mean, everything is set up for the Lions to keep close. They have playmakers. They've had a good season. Stafford's as healthy as we've seen him in the last couple of years. He's always so banged up. And he's so bullish on these Packers. And we've seen it open at -6. 5 dimes is down to 3.5. So is Heritage. So is Bet365. What do you think about this Lions-Packers spot?
Yeah, I actually agree with the line movement here. Devontae Adams not going to play in this football game, and there's a lot of things that the Detroit Lions can do well. If we get Darius Slay back at cornerback, that's only going to add to it. Say, all right, we got a formidable front seven, got a decent secondary, got a Pro Bowl caliber quarterback on the opposite side to go against Aaron Rodgers. And let's also talk about emotional football, Jimmy. It doesn't always play a factor, but when you look at the schedule so far already, you're talking about big games. The Packers had to get up opening night, monster game versus Chicago Bears. Then they played division rival Minnesota. They go on the road, stay at home and play Denver. Then you have that huge emotional game again against the Philadelphia Eagles that you lose. And then what do you do? The game of the week, with the reason why the NFL said, hold up here. We're only putting 2 games on because we want 50 million eyes to be on this Cowboys and Packers game, which they played and won, and it was emotional. Now you come back home, and yes, it's a division game against the Detroit Lions, but sooner or later, you're going to get a deep breath here that says, oh, man, how many times can we get up or really get amped up for one of these football games? I think Detroit can stay involved and stay inside the number. Now, again, you could have had, 6.5, 6s, 5.5s. When it gets in that 3.5 range, you're really asking the Detroit Lions to possibly go in and win that football game on the road in Lambeau, which is tough to do. I might let that line settle. If you're looking to back the Detroit Lions, I don't really think there's too much sense in taking the 3.5. Maybe you get that surge back. It's at the 4.5 at some other outlets. Might be a little bit more tangible for me to try to get involved in. But I do agree with the line movement here on the Lions, Jimmy.
Same here. One thing I'm really excited about is this garbage bowl in Miami. This was not a play that I was going to make until you broke it down on Tuesday. I jumped on the over at 41. I love seeing it 42. It's 42.5 at Heritage. I loved your breakdown. There are people talking about this game for some reason in the chat. And can you just, and we don't have too much time, but kind of talk about the game in the way you did for me on Tuesday, and you got me right to the window with it.
It's the same way for me. I like the 2 different angles, Jimmy, that we talk about. The one that we're going to start with is the total in the football game. Say, Donnie, my God, I see in Washington, it's really not that powerful. And Miami, do they have any weapons that they can actually, abuse Washington with and move forward? But when you're talking about teams that are so poorly run at this time, it is like the Super Bowl. You're throwing plays out there. You're going for it. This might be your only chance to win for either one of these football teams for the remainder of the season. So what does that mean? 4th and 1, 4th and 2 from your own 45. You're going for it. Because you know what that means? If you get it, that's really good because your team still has the ball at the 50-yard line and you can move it forward. If you don't get it, the other team is already at the 50-yard line going the opposite way. You're going to be talking about situations here late in the game, role reverses, and you're also talking about what we talked a little bit about Tuesday when you're taking a look at the over. You have a replacement of coaching staff in Washington. You don't get a job in the NFL by taking over play calling duties and scoring 3 points, 7 points, 14 points and saying, man, that offense is really stagnant. Nothing is innovative. you're going to see the coordinator for Washington on offense throw the kitchen sink at Miami to try to impress, say, hey, maybe I should get an interview at the end of the football season. And the same thing from the Miami perspective. You have an extra 2 weeks to prepare for Washington. They're not hell on wheels on defense. They're not a great offense, but you should have game planned and have things put in, scripted plays, 15 plays to start that you know how you're going to attack Washington. I told you I liked Miami again in the first half. If you're going to take a look at maybe 2.5 in that range, I think Miami can play them close in the first half. I don't know if they have the weapons to stay all the way through, but when you're talking about an over-under, Jimmy, in that low 40s, both of these teams, fake punts, fake field goals, going for it on fourth down, trying new things out. Disaster can happen, but disaster is really good sometimes for the total.
It is. And man, did that totally irritate me last evening. And I should put up my horrifying NFL record. 2 weeks in a row I've won, and then I start out with that guy I wanted just to smash it.
By the way, you deserve the under in that football game. I mean, you can't come into games and say, all right, let me get 3 touchdowns that aren't going to come from the offense. You really deserve the under in that game.
I also waited and got it at 43.
Yes.
You know? So you
did everything right. The game played out exactly the way you thought for an under in this football game. Again, the Giants score 7 points on offense, and the game flies over the total because we're scoring on defense and special teams. That's how usually 1 a game is amazing to get. 3 of them, that's ridiculous. You had the right play on that side.
Oh man, just hurt. It hurt. I've had some of these totals just rip the heart right out of me. The losing on the team total under 10.5 in the Jets-Patriots game when the Jets put up 0 points on offense was another one. So I don't feel like I know my record's shit right now, but I feel like that I'm going to get it back, and it was just extremely irritating. Donnie, there is a lot of talk, and I love having you for baseball and NFL, but there's a lot of people in the chat wondering if you have something that you're looking at on the college football ranks this weekend. Is there one play that you are looking at that you want to feed to the low baggers here? Is there anything you like in college football this weekend?
We talked about one a little bit during the week. You guys, look, I would never BS you guys, and I would never do that. Like if Jimmy asked me for hockey, I would gladly decline because you guys take this really serious in the chat box and giving information. And some people might just be tuning in for the first time, like, hey, boy, that guy's on SBR. He must know something. I would love to tail this play. Tailor with caution here in college football because I'm not all the way invested like I'm in the NFL or in Major League Baseball. So you know what? That makes sense. So I always like to be truthful and honest with everybody listening. But I do like Oklahoma. I think Oklahoma wins by double digits and gets the cover this week versus Texas, Jimmy.
Ooh, we've been talking about a lot of that game. A lot of guys like backing Herman there. That's an exciting look. What a treat it is to roll with you, Donnie RightSide, my friend. Can't wait to hammer this NFL card with you, 4 p.m. Eastern, alongside the Whale Capper. Donnie RightSide, thank you for joining us. Where can we find you on Twitter? And tell us a little bit about the big closing line show on Sunday.
Yeah, at RightSide VP is Twitter. As always, we'll be back on the Audible. Got some interesting things planned. We have a couple things are still up in the air for Sunday's show, but it's going to be a big day here at SBR, so stay tuned for some of those details. We're going to have a lot of fun. It's NFL. It's what we do. We're looking for some good information, Jimmy, at 4 o'clock today. Hopefully we can provide it. The Whale's going to provide it with the way he's been in NFL action, but it's a great weekend. Fridays are my favorite day. Thanks for having me on again, Jimmy. I appreciate it, buddy.
Oh, our absolute pleasure. There he is, Donnie RightSide, joining us every Friday here at Benny with the Bag. And these Fridays are exceptional because we go from Donnie RightSide right over to Teddy Covers. Teddy Covers coming to us live from Las Vegas, Nevada. Teddy Covers, how are you doing on this Friday morning?
I'm doing all right, Jimmy. How about yourself?
I destroyed NHL last night, but I gave a little under half of it back in NFL. NCAA football and WNBA. So at the end of last year, because Thursdays are a big, heavy day in NHL, 3 of the 4 days I swept the board, minimum 6 bets, 6-0, 6-0, and 7-0. And I put in 5 yesterday, 1 pushed and went 4-0 in NHL, which you'd think would have made me happy. And we talk about this, and you talk about the psychology around this too, Teddy. But losing the under, which I got late at 43 on Thursday Night Football due to the block punt touchdown and 2 fumble return touchdowns, made me really, really upset. And, Teddy, maybe we should take a second to talk about it because I know in poker and in sports gambling, people leave it because the losses hurt so much more than the wins feel good. And that reared its ugly face again for me last night where I was upset. I was upset that Syracuse didn't try to didn't kick that field goal on 4th and 20 to make it a 10-point game. 4th and goal, but they're at their 20. I was angry last night, even though I had this great night in football. I ended up I made $500 last night, but I was just angry. What, you've been in this game a long time. What do you do to combat the losses hurting more than the wins feeling good?
Nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, there's 22 years into the business, I still feel the same way. I was pretty pissed at Syracuse last night too. And the play calling, the decision making from Dino, and the play calling in the red zone. They kept on running the fades that wouldn't work in the end zone. It's frustrating. I get mad. What I don't do is let it linger. I get mad. I have my moment. I'll yell. I'll scream. I'll kick the dog. I won't really kick the dog. But the more, but I'm not going to let that. I give myself, if it's a brutal beat, I'll give myself a half hour. If it's something like that, I give myself 5 minutes. Rage, go nuts. But when you're done raging, it's done. Put it in the rearview mirror. I mean, that has been able to work for me. Where I have my moment. Rah, I hate everything. And then, all right, go outside. I smoke. And which is not a good habit. I don't encourage anyone to start smoking. But I'll go out. I'll have a cigarette. I'll come back, and I'm a human being again. That works for me. If you have something that where you have your moment and then something that you can take it down a notch, that goes a long, long way towards surviving in this business, because this is the truth of it, Jimmy. You nailed it. If you can't lose, you're not going to survive. You can't last in this business, because inevitably you're going to lose some games. You're going to lose some games you're supposed to win. You're going to lose some games in brutal fashion. You're going to be frustrated at coaches. You're going to be frustrated at players. It's inevitable. So in order to do this and be mentally sound on a day in, day out basis, you have to be able to exhale and let it go. So, I mean, to me, learning how to lose is far more important than learning how to win, especially when it comes to stupid stuff like, all right, well, let's double up, and here's a late game, and I don't want to pay my man. And that's where people get in real trouble betting, as opposed to, all right, this is recreational, this is fun. That's where it stops being fun and it starts being problematic. But hopefully, and I'm assuming that the vast majority of people in the chat don't have that compulsion where if you're having a bad day, you got to get it all back before you go to sleep. That's not realistic.
Yeah, and that's actually something that I've become good at in the last 2 years is I don't chase. But and that's where I feel very comfortable with. I take the L. I'm like, okay, I just lost, But I'm still trying to figure out how to not let it stick to me. And what happened is I was pretty upset even this morning. It took me to get on this show and hang out with the Capper and start feeling good. All right, let's get after it. And I apologize, but some of the psychology around how we handle things, hammering action every single day, is extremely important. Let's get into.
Let me jump in real quick, Jimmy,
Sure.
because I thought you you're like, I didn't feel better until I talked to and I got in the chat and started talking to other people. Maybe that's what you want to do. If you have a rough beat, find someone to commiserate with. Don't let it linger into the next day, because it'll take years off your life, man. You don't want that.
Oh, without a doubt. No, it's that's well put. It did. As soon as I got with everybody, I was like, okay, let's focus on the light, not the dark. Let's talk about these games this evening first. 20th ranked Virginia up against Miami. Miami opening up a -1.5. There's 2s. There's 2.5s on the board. This total keeps dropping. 46. We see 43s, 42s. And half. Hurricanes trying to avoid an 0-3 start in conference play for the first time in the ACC era. They've won just 4 of their last 16 games against Power 5 schools, 4 of their last 12 against ACC schools, 1 of their last 5 against ranked teams. 2 major changes. N'Kosi Perry starting at quarterback for Jaron Williams. Manny Diaz said he's going to take over the defense. This is the second straight year that Virginia's had a bye week prior to facing Miami. Can Mendenhall make this work? His teams at Virginia and BYU are 4-1 in their last 5 regular season games with an extra week to prepare. Teddy covers Virginia, Miami.
Well, the one came last year when they faced Miami coming out of a bye, and they couldn't do anything in that game. I'm telling you, I remember it. Virginia's offense didn't work against Miami's defense, and that's an image I can't get out of my head. That's why I watch. I'm sure most of you guys are doing the same thing. I mean, I'm sitting in front of the TVs for 14 hours every Saturday, all season long. And I remember this game from last year where Virginia's offense, Miami had enough defensive talent to give Virginia's offense fits. So I understand that Miami has lost, everything against a Power 5 school. 4-point game against Florida. They covered. They lost by 3 to North Carolina, a loss that didn't look nearly as bad. We've seen how good North Carolina's been. They lost by North Carolina almost by, Clemson was a 4-point difference. You know what I mean? And then last week against Virginia Tech, the game in which they were -5 in turnovers, all 5 in the first half, fell behind 28-0, and then moved the football and almost came back and made things real interesting in that contest. I'm only looking at the Miami side in this ballgame. I have not pulled the trigger. I don't think I'm going to pull the trigger, but I'm not convinced that Virginia, even off the bye, that offense is primed to move the football against the Hurricanes defense. And for as much as it's a Virginia spot off a loss off a bye, it's a Miami spot off a 5-turnover effort against Virginia Tech with another home game right here. Lean Canes, haven't pulled the trigger.
What's your feeling on N'Kosi Perry? Can he take care of it for the Hurricane backers?
So Perry's had his moments, you know what I mean? He's not someone who I'm not going to play. Oh my God, this is a horrible quarterback who we want no part of. N'Kosi Perry can chuck the football around, and he can run out of the pocket. He's okay. I think he'll be good enough to get the job done tonight.
And we know that Big Boss is on Miami as well. We're also going to have Big Ragu on the Late Show to hear what moves he's going to make. He's in our chat right now. Absolutely love that. He says Canes get the job done. So that means Ragu and Boss are both on this Miami squad. Very, very interesting. Yes, Brad Hansen, I'm on the Hurricanes -1.5. I'm so heavy, so bullish on them. Have them 30-1 to win the Cup, 16-1 to win the conference, 5-1 to win the division. Best start in 24 years. And I'm falling in love with Rod Brindamore. Let me just put that out there right now. God, what a leader of men that guy is, man. He's the first guy in the weight room every morning, the coach. Okay, let's move on to Colorado State at New Mexico. And after hearing all three of you guys, but Teddy leaning towards and Ragu and Boss on Miami, I'm thinking of making a move on Miami. Oh, speaking of which, with the loss last night on Syracuse, sorry, Rafa, could you put up the record? Right. Still, I'm right in range to getting plus units. If you had offered me this at 95 plays, I probably would have taken it. I probably would have said, well, that, now we have an idea of what teams are and who teams are, and I probably would have taken it. So I'm not going to be upset at seeing that record. Okay, Colorado State at New Mexico is next up. Teddy, it pops off at the same time as the Miami game. Colorado State opening up -4, and now there's 4s and 4.5s again. And this morning early, it was 3.5s. So money coming back in on Colorado State. And one man who's loving Colorado State is our DJ Big Boss. This total opened up at 66.5. There are 66s as well as 65.5s. The Rams have beaten these Lobos 9 straight times dating back to November 2009. 1-5 overall, 0-2 Mountain West. Lobos are 0-1 Mountain West, 2-3 overall, but 2 wins have come on their home turf. They beat New Mexico State and Sam Houston State there. Last week, they lose 32-21 to San Jose State, down 26-0 in that game, down 26-0 in that game. And then make the quarterback change, right? They make the quarterback change. Tavaka Tuioti looked terrible. They bring in Sherrion Jones, and he gives them hope. 127 yards, 2 TDs, 3 picks, ran for 104 yards, and a score. So New Mexico has allowed 100 more yards than the Rams. They've been allowing 386 yards passing per game. And I guess the big question here for me to ask you, Teddy, is can Colorado take advantage of that? They lose Colin Hill to the season-ending ACL. They have Patrick O'Brien and Justin McCoy. Neither looks good. McCoy, 2 snaps in his college career, both in last week's loss. O'Brien being a major disappointment since coming over from Nebraska. So the main question here is, can Colorado State take advantage of New Mexico's flaws?
I'm not convinced they can. I mean, Colorado State went 3-9 last year. They closed out, I think they were 3-4 and lost their last 5 in a row. They're 1-5 this year, and the one win came against the FCS squad. This is not a good football team. And you talked about some of the issues with at the quarterback position. But I think, man, O'Brien looked okay against Utah State. He didn't look good last week against San Diego State. Had a rough time against that defense. But it is certainly a step down in class here. But there's nothing about this team that says, yeah, let's lay more than a field goal with them on the road, even against a crappy foe. And for everything that happened to New Mexico last week in that San Jose loss, they turned the ball over 6 times in that ball game. All right, that's been a problem for them. They have had turnover problems all year. Colorado State's defense isn't forcing turnovers. They had a bunch in the Utah State game. Other than that, it's been slim pickings. So I'm expecting a competitive game. And I'm not going to lay points with Colorado State on the road. Total-wise, I have no strong opinion at all on this one. I wouldn't be surprised to see a lower-scoring game. I wouldn't be surprised to see a higher-scoring game. These are 2 pretty bad college football teams, and sometimes you see a fair bit of randomness when that happens. Not going to lay it with Colorado State.
So the Colorado State gets back, or is anticipated, they're expecting to get back Warren Jackson, but then they won't have E.J. Scott, final game of his 2-game suspension for violating team rules. So last game they didn't have E.J. Scott or Warren Jackson. Is that part of the reason why they weren't able to move the ball through the air?
Potentially. Some of it was probably San Diego State's defense. The Aztecs played pretty well on the defense side of the football last week. They were smothering Colorado State at the line of scrimmage, and there wasn't anybody open all day long for O'Brien to throw to.
Yeah, I'm hesitant to make this move on Colorado State that is backed by our big boss who has such a good read on these Rams right now. Okay, so there's Colorado State, New Mexico, and then the final game on the card, Colorado at number 13, Oregon. Oregon opening up minus 20.5 now, 21s and 21.5s, and a lot of people liking them here in the chat. A lot of people backing them here in the chat. Robin Spears, by the way, on Colorado State, and also Oregon minus 21. You see Oregon's all over. Ben Sports 27, Oregon first half. Everybody liking Oregon. CT Base on the Oregon under. Colorado coming off 35-30 loss at home to Arizona. They're getting Chanot Jr. Will they have Chanot Jr. in the lineup day-to-day, strained a muscle against Arizona State September 21st, missed the loss to the Wildcats. Also, KD Nixon day-to-day. Oregon got the job done against California. My dad was in town, and he caps the Pac-12, and just watching him lose nonstop on the Pac-12 is enough for me to stay off the Pac-12. But Oregon got the job done in ugly fashion. Didn't score in the first half, but got the job done 17-7. But they're undefeated in Pac-12. Herbert, a streak of 33 games with a touchdown. I just don't want to. I keep losing late at night, and I want to stop that. So I don't want to make a move here on Colorado or Oregon. But everybody in the chat liking Oregon and Oregon first half. Does that make sense to you, Teddy?
So I got to ask you a question, though. You said your dad was down there and that he caps the Pac-12 and he always loses. Pac-12 he caps it, but that he struggles there. A good fade in a given conference is worth its weight in gold, man. If your dad's losing, you just got to fade him every time, right?
You're right, but if he gets word of this, he will stop letting me know what he's on. He's a passionate dude, and he takes this. If he's watching right now, he's not happy.
Sorry, Dad.
He's an intense guy. My dad's 72 years old. He's cut out of wood. He's completely ripped. He works out every single day, and he's not to be trifled with.
Fair. I will not trifle with him. I will talk about Oregon. We'll talk about Oregon and Colorado. There are concerns about Chanot tonight. That being said, Chanot's not their only receiver. They've got 3 receivers who have made noise so far this season. Chanot only being one of them. Chanot's the third leading receiver right now. And you are talking about a senior QB who has put up points against every defense that he's faced so far this season. That said, I would be looking sidewise Oregon, total-wise over. This field, when we look at who the Ducks have played, the last couple of weeks, they had Stanford and then Cal, which, you could say certainly 2 of the 3 best defenses in the Pac-12. Stanford played well defensively in that ballgame. I think that this offense is capable of exploding against Colorado. I really do. So I'm not going to talk anyone out of the Oregon side. I'm not going to talk anyone out of the over. This over is getting steamed up, unfortunately. I liked it a lot early in the week. Even 58.5, I thought it was pretty good. Now we're looking at 60.5. Still like it. It's on my list of plays that I was going, I'm going to give you 7. The official plays that whenever you ask me for them, Jimmy, this is one of them. I do like that over tonight, but unfortunately that line is moving. So if you like the over, bet it now. Don't wait.
Do you think part of the reason why the under looks appealing to people is just because of what happened against Cal last week?
I mean, Oregon's only played one over all year. That was a Nevada game, and Nevada scored 6 points. Their opponents have scored 6-3, 6, and 7 their last 4 ball games. The only time they gave up more than that was to Auburn in the opener. And that was a game that, not like Auburn's offense worked really well. So the Ducks' defensive statistics are pretty impressive. They haven't been playing overs. And what we're seeing is an opening line that was based on that, and a market saying, well, Colorado's a different animal. Their defense isn't any good, and their offense is. So I do expect points in this one. This is not a game that has defensive scrum written all over it.
Teddy expecting points in this one. Really fun hearing Teddy's looks throughout the week. He's given us 9 looks. And on Monday, he gave us Nevada, Fresno, Iowa State, Washington. Then Iowa, Houston were 2 more of his looks. I have them written on different pages throughout the week. I should have put them all together, but I was kind of tight capping this morning. He's given us 9 looks so far, and feel free to start loading in your questions. Is there going to be any additions to the looks that you've jammed so far?
So one of them, I am Nevada. You talked about Nevada, and Nevada's one I found a 3 with San Jose, and I got off that. That's one that I laid 2.5, and I took a 3. So I'd love it if that game lands 3. That'd be just fine. But I'm off of that one. In terms of the 7 official releases, I believe that Oregon, Colorado over. Texas plus, which is obviously a popular choice. This is one that I just don't believe in the Sooners' strength of schedule yet, and I saw Texas stand toe-to-toe with LSU. And that, absolutely stands out to me. I laid with Iowa State. Iowa State's a bet-on team right now. We saw the Longhorns go into West Virginia and win by doubles last week. I think the Cyclones will do that this week. I really think there's legitimate, strong, solid bet-on for Iowa State moving forward right now. I took Eastern Michigan. -1, that's -1.5 right now against Ball. I think they're the better of the 2 teams, and I love the fact that the Eagles coming off a loss and the Cardinals coming off a come-from-behind win in the 4th quarter against Northern Illinois. I don't think they can do it 2 weeks in a row, and I think Eastern has a much better game than the one we saw last week. The Eagles made a whole lot of sense to me. I put the Washington Huskies in my pocket, 5.5 this morning, 6 the prevailing line. That's one that I was reading the quotes from Chris Peterson. And not just Peterson. I was reading the local papers, and there were a bunch of quotes from Peterson and the players. They were not there was a lot of, they looked, the energy wasn't there last week. And Peterson's like, no, we're fine energy-wise. We just didn't play a good game, and we got out-coached, and that's not going to happen 2 weeks in a row. Look at who Arizona has played this season. Find me one team that has a defense that is anything close to Washington's. I think Khalil Tate gets shut down. I like the Huskies minus on Saturday night. That's their late game. I took Houston plus 7.5. I really think that, again, we talk about Cincinnati coming off one of the bigger wins in program history, now going on the road and laying more than a touchdown. We've only seen the Cougs once since everybody quit the team. No, 2 guys quit the team, and they're both staying in communication with the program. But I thought that line was a good notch or 2 too high. I think the Cougs are live in that one. And I took Fresno plus against Air Force. That's one I think we talked about that early in the week as well. The Falcons coming off the Navy loss. They put a lot in that game. Fresno, I was reading the stuff in the Fresno Bee this morning in the Sacramento papers as well. They're coming off the bye. They feel confident that they can go and do assignment football and help contain that Air Force offense. So there's your 7 right there. Over tonight, Texas, Iowa State, Eastern Michigan, Washington, Houston, and Fresno.
Oh, I love it. I love it, Teddy. And we do want to get some of your NFL looks, so I do want to save some time for that. We have questions coming in. I'm going to start firing them at you right now. Our guy Manny Sanchez says, Teddy, Thoughts on Temple? Rotation number 127, 128, 23rd ranked Memphis opening up -3. We saw it up to 6 yesterday. And now we have 5s and 5.5s on the board. Temple, Memphis, total opened at 50.5, now at 49 and 49.5. We've been making money off of Temple all year. We've had a good read on Temple. What do you think here, Memphis, Temple?
So it's not a game. First of all, let me say this. I don't know why this line's been bouncing up and down. It's bounced up and down a fair bit. And when I don't know why the line's bouncing up and down, I tend to be a little bit reluctant. Memphis, 3 consecutive wins and covers. All against lesser competition. Certainly not. They haven't faced a quality defense since they faced Ole Miss in the opener. And Temple has a quality defense. But the thing with Temple and in a game against a high octane opponent, all right, and they haven't really, I guess Maryland, and they got Maryland in a flat spot on a good day, but Temple cannot trade points. You know, it's not a dynamic offense. Russo's not a QB who can throw downfield. They have had turnover problems on several occasions this season. They've only won the turnover battle once all year, and that came in that game against Georgia Tech, who turns the ball over against everybody. So I worry about the Owls keeping pace with the Tigers in this one. I worry about that defense facing a dynamic offense for the first time. I think Temple, if you like the Temple side, that does correlate with under. If this game's a shootout, Temple's not shooting out. You know, that's not their MO. So Owls, I think, could hang if it's a lower scoring game. If Memphis is scoring touchdowns, Temple's in trouble. And I wouldn't be surprised if they do.
That's an interesting spot. Prince of the City asking a very quick question. Which over tonight did you like? Is asked Prince of the City. Which over tonight did you? Oh, I know what. We talked about these games together. The over he liked was Colorado, Oregon. Okay, yes. Let's keep going. Our guy Yeppy Sogard says, can you ask Teddy on his opinion about Notre Dame blowing out USC, a late game on the West Coast? Rotation number 199, 200. Notre Dame opening up at -11, now 10.5s on the board. This total opening up at 56.5, now 59s. Teddy, USC, Notre Dame.
So I'm not playing it. If I had to play it, I'd have to take the Trojans, and I don't want to take the Trojans, so I'm not. It's not making my card. When you grade out the personnel on these two teams, you're not going to find a double-digit difference. When you look at the series history between these two teams, you see one competitive game after the next. We did see a blowout the last time USC was in South Bend. That was also a game in which the Trojans were missing 4 of their 5 starting offensive linemen. It was ugly. That's been the exception rather than the rule. Last year's game decided by a touchdown. I like the spot for USC coming off the bye, coming off the loss. And remember, that game against Washington, they were in that game. The final score a little bit misleading because they turned the ball over a bunch of times. They actually out-yarded the Huskies in that game. And maybe they turned the ball over here as well. But from a spot standpoint, from a value standpoint, you got Notre Dame coming off the blowout win against the Patsy. You hate that. I would much rather if Notre Dame was coming off a lethargic effort last week than we nailed them last week. And then prior to that, the two huge games in Virginia and Georgia, both of which they got the money. And all of a sudden now it's 4 straight covers for the Irish. There's a betting bandwagon there. There legitimately is. I think the number's a little bit too high. USC or pass for me. But like I said, I'm not getting the betting window with the Trojans. Clay Helton, not a coach who I necessarily think that an extra week to prepare is a good thing. Lean USC, but won't get there.
Lean USC won't get there. Next question coming in from Christopher Comentini, wondering about rotation number 145, 146, New Mexico State, Central Michigan. Central Michigan opening up at -12.5, now -10. This total at 57. He's wondering if he should make a move on New Mexico State +10 for Central Michigan.
So I like the Chippewas. In my mind right now, Central Michigan is a one-way team. And let me explain why. And I know this is a kind of an obscure game, but I want to talk about the concept here because the concept is so key to what I do and what I think maybe I can help people with a little bit. Central Michigan went 1-11 last year. They came into the season with a bottom feeder power rating. They came out in the opener. They beat Albany. Nobody cared. They went to Wisconsin and lost 61-0. Crushed. And the markets are like, this team stinks again. They're every bit as bad as they were last year. Well, since that time, they blow out Akron. They were -6. They won by 21. They went to Miami of Florida. They were in the backfield 30 times in that ballgame. They lost by 5. They were 29-point dogs. Against Western Michigan, they turned the ball over, I felt like 100 times. They turned the ball over 3 times in that game. They were stopped, I believe it was 4 different occasions from inside the 10-yard line on a goal to go, and they kept on going for it and not making it and kind of not getting in. They still covered against Western, okay? So when you stop 4 times inside the 10 and -2 in turnover and you still cover, and then last week against Eastern, they're dogs. They win the game by 26. This team is not priced in the markets correctly right now. Their defense is legit. That defensive line is in the backfield again and again and again. So the chips are bet on. Now their quarterback is hurt, all right? They've used 2 QBs this year. The guy who's back this week was the original starter. The market said QB hurt. Oh, jamming bets on New Mexico State, and the New Mexico State money came in. Now, the Aggies, look, they played Washington State and Alabama and San Diego State and Fresno, and obviously Liberty last week. They can't move the football against Liberty, and they turned the ball over in that game. This isn't a class difference type of contest. New Mexico State does have a bye coming up. From what I've read, and again, the information on New Mexico State is modest, but from what I've read, they're interested here. But Central or pass in general for me moving forward. When you find a team like that, where the markets had them priced way wrong at the beginning of the year after either a misleading final or an early season blowout or something, that's a team that can offer value, not just 1 week, not just 2 weeks. It's been 4 weeks now for Central. I'm not convinced the markets have caught up with them yet. I would back Central way before I put my money on a team like New Mexico State.
Backing Central here. We have more questions coming in, and they're coming in fast. Rotation number 164, Kentucky at play here. I don't know why I can't find it when I know the rotation number. What the hell's wrong with me? 164, Kentucky. Kentucky, the question coming in from Steve Priest, wondering if Kentucky is at too many points for Kentucky.
It's 2 teams I'm not excited about. I mean, this is a game, and again, as I'm making my numbers on Sunday, and on Sunday I'm like, yeah, let's check this one. And then you're going through and doing your due diligence on Monday and Tuesday, and there was nothing that I saw in this game that made me interested in either side. And I know that Arkansas played well before the bye against A&M. I also know they lost at home to San Jose State, and we're tied with Colorado State at home. This is not a football team that I trust to hang. And certainly from a spot standpoint, Kentucky off 3 straight losses and the bye. This is their get-right game. But as you mentioned, no cheap price to lay with the Wildcats in this one. So easy pass for me. Not a game I spent a lot of time with. Not a game that I was deep digging. I wasn't really interested in backing either of these 2 sides in their respective roles.
Big Joe Capper here says, ask Teddy what he thinks about Nebraska. We've talked a lot about this game, and it's been a gopher or nothing look for Teddy from Minnesota. 129-130, -7.5 for the Gophers all week. This total has dropped. Now we see a 49 at Bookmaker, open at 52.5. What do you think about Big Joe liking Nebraska here, +7.5?
Yeah, I mean, I still don't have accurate info on Adrian Martinez, so I haven't made a move on the game, and I'm not going to make a move on the game until we hear. And this might be one of these game time decisions where we don't know if he's going to go until he gets out in warm-ups tomorrow morning, and the line will move accordingly. If Martinez plays, the 7.5 will be gone. If he doesn't play, the line could go up. But in general, I'm a Minnesota believer right now. That team's rowing the boat. The price range isn't easy here, but the Gophers have something this year they haven't had in recent years. That's a downfield passing game, and that might work against Nebraska's defense.
We have a few people, and I'd like to get into NFL soon, so I'm sorry if we didn't get to your questions, those of you who asked, and thank you to all you guys for putting so much energy into the chat. It's so exciting when Teddy joins us. Dom Ricci says, does Army bounce back from that awful performance last week? Rotation number 191-92, Army, Western Kentucky. Army opening up at -4. Now -4.5. Says total at 42.5 or 43 or 43.5. Teddy, does Army bounce back?
I mean, I didn't think they were awful last week. I thought they were outclassed in a speed situation, and that and at times this year they've been able to overcome that. Michigan game certainly stands out in that regard. But when they're facing a motivated team with speed, Army has their defense is going to have problems. That being said, Western Kentucky doesn't see the option. Western Kentucky is, I think, they're weaker than Army by a good notch or two. And I know they won. They beat Florida International, UAB, and Old Dominion. And another team that had a bad early season loss, that Central Arkansas loss week 1, has affected their point spread rating since. They've been a great spread team since. But if I had to play the game, I'm not playing. If I had to play the game, it'd be Army or pass. I think Army is a notch or two better, a good notch or two better. I'm not convinced the Hilltoppers are going to stop this offense.
Raven in the Desert, God, he's so sharp. I love what he does with the smaller schools, but here with the big school, he's liking the under in the Army game. Do you agree with that?
Western Kentucky's been an under team all year. They cashed. They barely got over. They got over against Louisville by a field goal late, and everything else has been under. They don't have the speed that Tulane has, so I don't see the big plays coming on offense the way the Green Wave were able to put together last week. Makes sense. I certainly wouldn't talk you out of it.
Makes sense. Wouldn't talk out of it. Okay, we got one last question, and then I need to get some NFL questions into you. 40-ounce beer belly dude says, Jimmy, can you ask Teddy if he likes the over 59 on Utah, Oregon State?
I honestly, I have absolutely no opinion on that total. I don't. So I apologize in advance. Oregon State's a dead nuts over team. Utah and 59s don't make a ton of sense. Utah's not built. Their defense is great. All they want to do is run the football. And every time they have a lead, they'll just milk clock. So it's a team with two very contrasting styles in the way they want to play. And that makes me reluctant to get involved with the total.
There it is, though. That is our college football breakdown for the week. Putting a bow on that, but we need to ask Teddy some questions in the National Football League. And our very own Rick Rodriguez has been very patient. And Donnie, RightSide, did touch on this game. And my 2-unit play in the pick six, my look is on the over in this game. But you guys will hear more of my breakdowns on the Audible. Let's hear Teddy's breakdown. Eagles, Vikings. Man, I'm so excited about this game, and I'm excited about the Eagles. But, God, this is a tough test for them in Minnesota. This total has gone up to 44. I got it at 43.5. The Vikings are 3-point favorites. Teddy covers Eagles, Vikings.
I'm not even close to playing this game. It's a really hard game. Minnesota's handicap is simple, all right? If they can run, they can win. If they can't run, they can't win. Philadelphia's run defense is stellar. I mean, it's stellar. And this is a game that Kirk Cousins is going to have to carry the offense. We've seen Cousins try to carry the offense. He looked like Mitch Trubisky. I don't trust laying with Minnesota. However, when you talk about the strongest home fields in the NFL, Vikings are 30-13 with a push in 44 home games under Mike Zimmer. Against non-divisional opponents, 18-2-2 against the spread. All right, that's a strong track record. That's a very difficult track record to step in front of. The only team in the NFL I give 4 points for the home field. I don't like betting against Minnesota at home. I do think Philly's a better team, but I'm not getting there. Pass for me. Good game. I wouldn't be surprised at all if it lands 3.
What do you think of the points here? Because I know these are two great defenses, and I know that, as you mentioned, the Eagles have some of the weapons to slow down Dalvin Cook, but I think that Cousins might have gained a little confidence against that weak Giants secondary, and I think that Wentz can put up points in tough situations. And this is a low total that I thought I could get over at 43.5, now at 44. What do you think of that total?
So remember week 1, the Eagles were down 17-0 to the Redskins? And then Wentz found Deshaun Jackson for a couple long touchdowns. Since that time, Carson Wentz has averaged 6.4 yards per pass attempt. That is at the bottom of the NFL. There's no deep passing game for Philly right now. Hasn't existed. It's been all dinky-dunky. Minnesota's defense is no joke, and I don't trust either team to run the football here. It's not an over I'm comfortable recommending. It really isn't. These are if you say what's the strength of Minnesota, it's their defense. You ask me what's the strength of Philly? Right now it's their defense. certainly the front seven. So those aren't games I'm looking to bet overs. I didn't play under. And the sharp money's on the over here. So again, you're not going against one of these deals where, oh my God, everyone's, the sharp money's really saying you don't want to do this. No, the sharp money's with you. But not one that I'm going to get involved with.
I think that I still have some confidence with the look. Gas Station Sushi says, I love that this show's now officially 90 minutes. I tried for 2 years to make it 90 minutes, and it wasn't until I got Teddy Covers where I got the green light to extend it. So thank you, Teddy, for that. It wouldn't have happened without this man on the screen right now. Teddy, what are the looks or your favorite looks on this NFL card? We are 48 hours before kickoff. What are your best looks?
So I laid 3 with the Rams. I laid 3 minus 20 against San Fran. And this is a pure spot play. LA coming off back-to-back losses. It's a pretty important game for them. Niners on a short week. And the Niners, again, when you look at the statistical profile, San Fran's offense is blowing everybody off the charts. And then you look at who they play. They literally haven't played a team that can stop anybody yet. They're about to play one this week. So spot screams LA. And at minus 3, I was comfortable getting the window in that one. I put some Jets in my pocket at plus 7.5. Had to. Look at Dallas's offensive line. Dallas's offensive line is a mess. And the Jets with Sam Darnold are not the Jets without Sam Darnold. I think the Jets bounce back, and I would not be surprised if that is a competitive game. I would not be surprised. I will sprinkle something on the money line. I haven't done it yet. But I'll take the Jets plus the points. And on the money line, I took Miami and Washington over.
Yes.
That's an ugly one. Then you look at the defensive stats. Then you look at what Miami's saying coming out of their bye. Then you look at the fact that Keenum is likely to be back on the field for the Redskins. You go, yeah, that makes sense. 2 crappy teams, nothing to lose. I expect a shootout in Miami. That's it. That's my 3 NFL looks. I haven't, there was a bunch of stuff that I kind of liked and didn't play. I kind of liked Cincy and didn't play them. Here, let me get there's a whole bunch of stuff that I kind of liked and talked myself out of. Sorry. I kind of like Cleveland, and I'm not getting the window. I'm just worried about Kitchens. I talked about KC over. I'm not getting there. Jacksonville was on my short list. I didn't bet that one, and I'm not going to at anywhere near the current number. The Falcons are on the short list. It's a Falcon spot. I don't trust Atlanta enough. I looked at the Titans. I didn't get there, and we'll talk about it Monday. I might get there with the Lions. We'll see. But not at the current number of 4. That number would have to go back up.
I love it. I'm also on that over Washington, Miami. I got that at 41. I am on the Falcons, so I love that. Jorge, don't play Sid. Did Teddy just say Jets money line? No. He said he had Jets plus 7.5 in his pocket.
I said sprinkle money line. Absolutely. Take a taste.
You got to take a taste.
I think the Jets are live to win that game. Why are you laughing at me?
No, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love that you got to take a taste. I was laughing at the line, got to take a taste, not laughing at the move on the Jets money line.
You're allowed to laugh at me, Jimmy. It's what we do, man. It's fun. That at this stage, me and you are friends, yeah. And what friends do is they make fun of each other over their bets, and you're like, what? What? You like the Jets money line? What? We'll talk about it on Monday. You can mock me or you can pat me on the back on Monday. I'm happy to stand by my recommendation.
No, I love it. And I love the look because so many people were so heavy on Dallas to have this bounce back spot against the Jets, but injuries are such a big part of it. So I love the look very, very, very much. Rod Zawacki agreeing with Dallas O-line being beat up. I got 41 earlier in the week, and Big Joe, the capper, asking, what number did you get for the Washington-Miami over?
41.5. So you beat me, Jimmy. Nice. I didn't pull the trigger at 41, but I wasn't freaked. 42 is the number I want to get on the right side of.
Definitely.
And I'm on the right side of it. So.
Definitely. And then we're going to let Seven Eli close this off. And I don't mean to go back to NCAA, but it is a question that actually I was like, yeah, that is a good question. Seven Eli wondering why you backed off the Nevada pick.
Couple of reasons. All right. First, this wasn't anything that was information. This is all just as you process the games. The teams that get blown out once, all right. The teams that get blown out in non-competitive fashion twice, there's something wrong with. And the last time we saw Nevada, I know they got blown off that field. There was no fight in them. That worries me. San Jose, I think it's more about San Jose. So I'm worried about Nevada's ability to bounce back. This offense isn't good. I mean, it's They haven't moved the football. They didn't, remember week 1, even that win against Purdue, that was all Purdue turning it over late and Nevada getting some momentum. Well, I'm thinking about it, they're not a good team. In San Jose, the quotes coming out of San Jose are really positive. This is a team that's talking bowl for the first time in many years or in several years. And I thought that at +3, I stopped trusting the Wolfpack. And at +3, I thought San Jose was worth it. So that was my thought process getting off that game. Just rethinking it, re-going through the two teams, is fully assessing the situation and then changing your mind. We're not politicians, okay? We're allowed to change our mind whenever we freaking feel like it. And if you don't change your mind sometimes and get locked into something, it can really cost you. So this is one where I changed my mind and I was able to, and it wasn't a situation where I love the other side. I changed my mind. Okay, I don't want my position on this side. So I was able to get off at a no harm, no foul line where I'm laying 2.5 and catching 3 on the other side. I'm not even taking a Polish middle here, which is nice.
That's a great answer. And we have Big Boss who's loving San Jose State week in and week out. So that was a very interesting question. Teddy Covers, what a treat it is to be with you all weekend long. Now it's time to get those winners, man. Love hearing your NCAA football looks. Gave out 7 of them. Love hearing your NFL looks. Gave out 3 of them. And just very thankful to have you on the show, my friend. And everybody in the chat loves it as well. So what a treat it is. Next stop, Glory for us this weekend. Teddy Covers. Follow Teddy. Teddy_covers on Twitter. He's a great follow. He's very active, and I just love having you on the show, my friend. Enjoy your weekend, and thank you so much for joining us and sharing all your hard work with us.
Hey, thank you, Jimmy. Look, it's fun every day, dude. It really is. So the energy in this show is second to none. I appreciate it. Good luck this weekend, guys. Hope you cash them all. We'll talk again on Monday.
I look forward to it. It's very fun having Teddy all week long. All right, there you have it. That is our show. And as always, our Friday late shows, jam-packed with guests. We're packed with guests, among them Al Mack will be on this show. The Big Ragu will be on the show, amongst others. We have a growing guest list on our Friday shows. We're going to have Jay from the Sports Keg on the show giving us his NFL looks. We're going to have a packed Friday show and maybe some other special guests, so please join us for the late show. Other than that, we have no afternoon action, so let's work on the studying. And can't wait to have you guys rolling with me again. And I was in a bad mood when I got here this morning, and you guys just always seem to get that off of me. So let's keep cashing. Oh, sorry, I never went over my NHL plays one more time. I got to play on each and every game, coming off a 4-0 plus 4.65 unit day. I'm on the over 6 in Florida, Buffalo. And then I really like the spot the Jackets are in, -1.5 at plus 195. I like that look quite a bit. I love that the Ducks won their first 3 games of the year, and I plan to fade them maybe throughout this whole road trip. And then I got the -1.5 on the Hurricanes at plus 160 for show purposes. I bet it at plus 155, and you know how I feel about the Hurricanes. I think I'm going to be making a lot of money off of them this year. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let's get after it. Leche, hey, los bookmakers!